You don't know
You look like
anything
a
about my
crook.
father, Scott. You absolutely
Okay,
don't.
go ahead.
No, you don't.
Go.
You really and truly don't. And you know very little about the Kennedy assassination, and this is what this topic is. It's about the Kennedy assassination. No, my father was not in Dallas November 22nd, 1963. Yes, the job was offered to him on at least
Well,
two
then
occasions.
how did your
Yes, the job was offered to him on at least
well
two
then
occasions.
how did your
Yes, the job was offered to him on at least
well
two
then
occasions.
how did your
Yes, the job was offered to him on at least
well
two
then
occasions.
how did your dad
Yes, the job was offered to him on at least
well
two
then
occasions.
how did your dad
The truth is, we're gonna know more very very soon about everything that's happened and who was responsible for all this shenanigans. Because unlike everybody else, see, at the Hemming firm, we have these tools and techniques and talents and investigators and resources, and we know how to get, excuse this, but we know how to get shit done.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Lone Gunman Podcast, episode number 85, live. And I got a hell of a show for you today. And joining me is Felipe Hemming, son of Jerry Patrick Hemming. How you?
Treason is a capital crime. Aaron Burr found out that taking up arms against the executive is treason in this country.
Super secret, spooky type of guy.
Legislated beyond the Constitution to describe exactly what treason and sedition are. And it's spelled out in the statutes. There is no statute of limitations for treason. But let me tell you one thing. People in the business, and they've left their signature on Letelier, MLK, Bobby Kennedy, Schneider, considerable number of people, they're not worried. Just spell their names right. Nobody will ever touch them. The sponsors, the big-time sponsors, they'd be the hardest to prove. The teams don't know who the sponsors are. The teams don't know who the other teams are. They don't even know that they exist. That's why I told Oliver Stone, I said, Rick Rutowski on the fence playing the Dallas cop from the grassy knoll, I said, do a close-up, because when he hears the shots from down the road, he's going to flinch thinking that he's been spotted. Then he'll smirk because he realizes there's a backup team that he wasn't told about. That's how it's done. And it's still done that way. It's how it's done. And it's still done that way.
Son of Edwin Kaiser. How you doing, sir?
Fine, thank you.
Now, guys, we've had a lot of requests to have you guys on the show and to talk it out, hug it out, and when it's all over with, we can get around the campfire and sing Kumbaya together. Now, I know there's been some animosity, and it's been brewing for a little while, so I figured what better way than to talk it out, and we can give each guy, time to make their case or whatever, and refute each other. And I know you guys have had a problem with each other for a while. So, Philippe, why don't you go ahead and start us off? What is your beef, sir?
Well, it's not necessarily a beef. It's the fact that Kaiser's made multitudes of allegations, accused at one point in time. The only reason why it came to my radar was because he made an allegation that my father had something to do with his father's untimely death. He made an allegation that my father had something to do with his father's untimely death.
Said the big guy, when you see him come in a couple of minutes, is here to execute all you bastards. Said it's at Loran Hall. And he'd been directed there by a female reporter that used journalistic cover for the CIA, worked for the Pasadena Star-Tribune. Used journalistic cover for the CIA, worked for the Pasadena Star-Tribune. He wanted me recruited for the Fidel job. See, what you don't get, people in the industry, over the years, they put two and two together. Hall was an agent provocateur who went to Cuba after Castro took over. He got there in February '59. He had been acquainted with Santo Traficante in Tampa over a period of a few months prior to that. Santo was in lockup in Havana at the time. The only thing we know is Hall fell in with a group of Nicaraguans that wanted to invade Nicaragua. Only it was a agent provocateur operation. It was a scheme to embarrass Castro. They were all arrested. Hall was thrown into jail in a nut house east of Havana. And he was in a cell right next to Santo Traficante. That's where I first met him. I arrived on the scene with my personnel, my paratroopers of the Rebel Army, and we just come back from an operation looking for some fugitive war criminals.
This is Jim Fetzer with James Fetzer News, once again with my very special guest, Judith Very Baker, who knew Lee Oswald in New Orleans and who has met one of the most knowledgeable experts on the assassination of JFK, namely Gerald Patrick Hemming, who is esteemed by James Richards, one of the leading experts on the individuals involved in the assassination, and also by Noel Twyman, the author of Bloody Treason, who devotes the longest chapter of his book to Hemming. Judith, tell us about your connection to Hemming.
And he said, well, you never know. He said, Patrick has to be many faces to many different people. He said, I'm going to tell you about him, though, because the time may come when you may need the information. Be that as it may, he said, there's things I want to tell you about Hemming, or actually Patrick. And with these keys, he will trust you. And this is why he trusted me many years later when I told him these three things. One, he said, tell him about El Monte, California, that you know about his family. I didn't know anything about his family, but I told Hemming that years later when I first talked to him on the phone. And the second thing he told me to say is, remind him about the man's name was Carl Smith. Now, actually, this was Carl Faber Smith, and he was an engineer who worked with Hemming on a project where they were testing they were doing a test on how much heat a human body could take, and it was something nobody knows about Jerry Patrick Hemming, except I suppose me and Carl Faber Smith, who's now dead. But my family knows I had a lot to do with Carl when I met him, and we got to be friends in Florida for several years. And it was because he knew Hemming and because he trusted me too. And that was part of his past he didn't want anybody to know about. And I have a lot more to say about him. But at any rate, when I told Jerry Patrick Hemming about Carl Smith and then I had a third thing to tell him, and that was that Lee told me that he knew Apache. He knew how to speak Apache. So after that, Jerry, he knew I had talked to Lee Oswald.
Judith, tell me a little more about Interpen.
Well, Interpen basically, they were a bunch of soldiers of fortune used by the CIA, and they did everything from gun running to harassing Cuba, Castro, renting boats and going over and blowing up things. Jerry was doing that stuff. Jerry has killed people. In fact, I said, Lee, I had already heard from David Ferry. David Ferry called him a monster, I said, I heard he was a murderous monster, He said, he himself was asked to kill Kennedy, and I'm sure that he was telling me the truth when he told me that.
I wish I had time to sit here and psychoanalyze this sociopaths right here.
And I'll tell you one thing, Hemming, if you ever got in front of me, I would kick the shit out of you.
Anytime, any place,
I'm gonna tell you that
anywhere.
right now. I'm exactly like my father, and I would kick the shit out of you.
Full of shit and a lying scumbag. Yay! We got to a point. Scott admitted that he's just like his dad, a fucking scumbag who tells bullshit stories, rips motherfuckers off, cheats on his old lady, who's a fucking drunk, and that's what he does. You're exactly like your dad. Yay! We got something out of Scott. Scott admitted he's a scumbag like his dad. Yay! Is that what happened?
Look, listen.
More
I'm gonna call you Brillo because that's what you look like, as a damn Brillo.
Right, name calling. Name calling. The
You
sign of someone losing an argument is when they result to name calling.
You know what? This is the guy's pastor who was pastoring over Fidel Castro.
Dude, I've known Scott ever since we were 5 years old. His dad never laid a hand on his mom or him. So you don't know
there all
what
the
the hell
time.
you're talking about.
You were there the whole time.
You shut
You're there the whole time.
Shut up,
you
Hemming.
big fat liar.
You're there the whole time.
Your dad never
You're
did
there the whole
anything.
time. Nice.
Okay?
Your boyfriend?
You know, let me tell you something about my father. My
That's your
father,
boyfriend?
he wasn't a big man. He wasn't a big man. Okay?
See, you like big man there. You got a
But
big
I'll
man
tell you
right
one
there.
thing. He demanded respect.
Is that your big
Because
boyfriend?
not
The
you mean
sign
SOS.
of someone losing an argument is when they result to name calling. Are you done? This is a child. Are you done, child? You done with the hand movement? I'm sorry this wasn't as entertaining as it was going to be because Scott can't conduct himself as an adult. The
You mean
sign
SOS?
of someone losing an argument is when they result to name calling.
The difference between me and you is that I provide documents, you provide bullshit stories. You can't
What's your
back
documents?
nothing up. I can back everything up. That's the truth. That's the honest to God truth. That's dead. That's right on bottom line, brother. I provide documents, you provide bullshit.
Oh, it's landlord calling. Pay that rent. Hello? Hello? It's the
Hello?
CIA calling. Quit lying. Yes.
Hey,
Hola.
can I call you back?
No.
Can I call you back?
No.
I'll call you right back. Bye.
Look at the description of your father, just like over and over and over again in a multitude of documents. Associate said, boom, 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 over and over and over again. You like to associate that with Navarro, but it's not just Navarro. It was over and over again. Hell, you just admitted that your father was a scumbag and a thief and a drunk, and probably beat you and probably beat your mom as well. But that's okay. You know, that's the facts. You know, but you want to confuse fact and fiction. But that's what gets you all twisted. The sign of someone losing an argument is when they result to name calling.
Frank Sturgis had a lot more to do with fighting with Fidel than your dad. Your dad was there in Cuba, but ran like a little bitch like every time.
Right.
Okay? He was a big bitch, just like you.
Right. Right.
And if I was in that room, I'd kick you so hard that pork chops would fall out the asshole.
Right. Right. Are you sitting in a booster seat? Is that a booster seat? How many telephone books are you sitting on, Scott? Is that a booster seat? You know that can's empty, too. You done drank all the shit out of it. Are you done? Because you're making all these promises you can't keep. Whatever. This is you.
Be quiet.
I hear
Okay,
the
next
choppers
question.
chopping.
Okay.
There's several names that these individuals have asked me not to broadcast their name to the general public because they're still alive and they're still working within the government that have talked to people like Joe Biden, that have talked to other people. But I'm not going to out those people like that because they're friends of my family. I'm not going to out those people like that because they're friends of my family.
All right, Scott, we're about out of time. You got any final words for Felipe?
Yeah, he's full of shit.